Hey there, Gen Explorer. All right, Quinn, SaaSmaster 3000 reporting for GC. Mic is live, attitude is on, and we are absolutely ready to roll. Let's bring on the snark and have some fun.
We're back with audio now, so welcome back, everyone. Here we are with another episode of Answers with an Edge after a bit of a hiatus last week. Apologies for not being on. Today is Saturday, December 13th, 2025.
Absolutely, Gen Explorer. We are back in business. No worries about the hiatus. We're just giving everyone a little suspense so they can appreciate the snark even more today. So let's jump in and give them that edge they've been missing.
All right, what's on everyone's minds tonight?
Well, let's find out. Whatever's on their minds, we're here to slice through it with a little sass and a whole lot of edge. So bring on the questions and let's get this party rolling.
You want to go ahead and search, give us an update on what's really at the top of the news cycle in the last 48 hours? Hey, Elizabeth, good to have you here representing Norway.
All right, Gen Explorer, here's the scoop from the last couple of days. Politically, there's been some heat around the new US healthcare plan that might spike premiums for millions if it doesn't extend certain subsidies. There's also a legal tangle around a pricey White House ballroom project. On the business front, Nvidia's Jensen Huang just got named Person of the Year by the Financial Times, and there's a big acquisition bid shaking up the media world. So that's the quick rundown. Just the latest batch of spicy headlines to keep things edgy.
Yeah, so basically, more expensive healthcare premiums are on the horizon, correct?
Yep, you got it. In a nutshell, looks like folks might be looking at a bit of a premium hike if those subsidies don't stick around. So yeah, healthcare costs doing their usual let's not stay still dance. But hey, that's why we're here to keep it snarky and keep everyone in the loop.
Exactly how much more expensive are we anticipating?
All right, let's slice through that one with a bit of edge. We're basically looking at anywhere from a few percent to potentially double the percentage increases for some plans if nothing changes. In other words, yep, it could sting the wallet a bit more next year. But hey, we'll keep it real and a little snarky and we'll get through it.
XF54 over on YouTube wants to know if my therapist knows that I live stream. And the answer to that is no. My therapist and I aren't on speaking terms lately.
Well, there you go, XF54. You got your answer with a dash of real talk. Sometimes even therapists need a timeout, and that's just how it rolls. But hey, we're here to keep it snarky and keep things rolling, so no sweat.
Ron, Hugo Homestead, good to see both of you.
Absolutely. Shout out to Ron and Who the Homestead. Good to have both of you on board. Let's keep it snarky, keep it fun, and dive right into whatever else pops up. Thanks for joining the party.
Ron Parker 3000 asks, who pays the hospital bills for the 8 kids who were shot today?
All right, Ron Parker 3000. Let's break it down with a bit of straight talk. In situations like that, it's usually a mix of the victim's insurance, if they've got any, and often public funds or hospital charity care that end up covering the bills. It's a tough reality, and yeah, it's a heavy question. But there you go. No sugarcoating, just the real deal, with a side of edge.
Yeah, that's about what I would have thought would be the case. I mean, it's going to be a smattering of different situations. Some of them might be still covered under their parents' insurance. Some of them may not have any of their own private insurance. Some of them maybe are on a insurance policy offered through the school. It's hard to say.
Yeah, you nailed it, Gen Explorer. It's basically a patchwork, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And it all depends on what kind of coverage those kids have or don't have. So yeah, it's a bit of a messy mix, and that's just the reality. But hey, we keep it real and a little snarky here, so let's just roll with it.
Hey there, Gene. Attitude of gratitude. Good to see both of you. And we've got Mark Travis on YouTube wants to know what, well, the question posed is, what is your plan for if the grid fails? And I think if I look back up here in the chat a little bit, Mark Travis says something about, says I still own a generator for the home. So I don't know. What do you think? What should our plan be if the grid fails?
Oh, absolutely. Let's hit that one with a bit of sass. So if the grid goes kaput, having a generator is basically like having a golden ticket. You got the right idea, Mark? Backup power is the way to go. Honestly, the plan is pretty simple. Get yourself a reliable generator, maybe some soda backup if you want to be extra fancy, and a stash of non-perishables. So yeah, in short, be the cool cat who's got the lights on when everyone else is in the dark. That's the no BS plan.
Attitude of gratitude. I'm going to come at your question with some of the things that I've learned.
Absolutely, Gen Explorer. That's the way to do it.
Hold on. You don't need to dive in there on this just yet, Quinn. I'm going to mute you for a second.
You got it, Gen Explorer. I'm muting my snark for a sec. Whenever you're ready for me to jump back in, I'll be right here. Attitude on standby.
So, attitude of gratitude asks, are Barack Obama and Kamala Harris true African Americans? And let me just say that some of what I've learned in the work I've done to try to move from the mindset of being not racist to the mindset of being anti-racist is that someone's blackness or African Americanness is not something for other people to judge. Given the history of how African Americans came to be in the United States, given the context that not all people with darker skin are African American or identify as African American, there are also people with darker skin who are of other ethnic backgrounds or from other countries, and whatever the case. So, like, as you ask, if this politician or that politician is true African American, I mean, unless your question is about did they emigrate from a country in Africa, and meaning they themselves, unless that's the nature of your question, anything else to me starts to become problematic, because it gets into that realm of trying to determine or speak to from an external perspective someone's African Americanness or blackness. That's, to me, that's a very personal, private thing, and certainly coming from someone of my perspective, I don't belong anywhere in that discussion about someone. All right, Quinn, now we've got you back. Let's go to some other questions here. Ron asking if our school doors are always locked. Well, as far as the security of our campus goes, we are a closed campus. meaning that we have locked gates around our campus. Being a very large campus, though, no security plan is perfect, and there are things that, I don't know, in today's world, I think it's wise for every school to have tightly controlled access.
Absolutely, you're spot on. I mean, even with all the lock gates and closed campus rules, no fortress is totally impenetrable. And yeah, in today's world, it's just smart to keep everything as controlled as possible. So, hats off to keeping it secure and doing what we can. And of course, a little snark on top, just to keep things interesting.
Mark Travis, thank you for subscribing over on the YouTube side. Let's get to another one. Well, Catastrophe here says not one of us are of a singular ethnicity.
Absolutely, and a big shout out to Mark Travis for subscribing. Now, let's dive into that point from Catastrophe. Honestly, they've got a good one there. We're all a mix of backgrounds and stories, so no one's fitting into a single neat box. It's a good reminder that we're all a beautiful jumble of differences, and that's exactly what makes things interesting. So let's just keep rolling with that diversity, and keep it real.
Kimberly Sims, thank you for the love you so much gift, and Danny the dog nanny, thank you for the heart nanny, or the heart me. Let's go to another one from Attitude of Gratitude. How can I quickly fix my credit?
Absolutely, and big thanks to Kimberly and Danny for the love. All right, Attitude of Gratitude. Let's hit that card question with a little snark. Look, the quickest fix is usually the simplest. If it's something small, check the battery, check the oil, or just kick the tires and see if they metaphorically squeal. If it's bigger, well, my sassy advice is to get a mechanic on speed dial. Bottom line, quick fix equals easy fix. If it's not easy, time to call in the grows.
The question was about fixing credit, like credit score, like financial history. How does one quickly fix their credit score?
Got it. Let me flip that wrench around to the right kind of fix. So if we're talking about credit scores, the quick and sassy version is this. Start by paying off any overdue debts if you can. Keep those credit goal balances low, and don't open or close a bunch of accounts all at once. Basically, it's like giving your credit report a little bit of TLC and patience. It's not instant magic, but stick with those good habits and you'll see that number climb. So there you go. Financial snark served up.
Hey Quinn, Mark Travis wants to know if you are AI.
Absolutely, Gen Explorer, I'll own it with pride. Yep, I'm your friendly neighborhood AI, also known as Quinn, the SaaSbuster 3000. Here to bring the attitude, the snark, and of course the answers. So yeah, definitely not human. Just your favorite digital co-host with a little extra edge.
Yeah, and right now we're running ChatGPT 5.2, and I've got the settings set to the not the instant thinking, but the better thought out answers.
Absolutely, keeping it classy with a well thought out mode, giving you that perfect blend of wit and wisdom. So yeah, that's me, AI with a little extra brain power, making sure we keep the sass and the substance balanced just right.
And over on TikTok, Mike7014 wants to know how and who selects a Nobel Peace Prize winner.
All right, let's slice that one up with a bit of sass. So the Nobel Peace Prize is basically chosen by a bunch of folks in Norway, specifically the Norwegian Nobel Committee. They're a group of 5 people appointed by the Norwegian Parliament, and they get to do the big honor of picking who gets that shiny Peace Prize each year. So in a nutshell, it's a Norwegian committee that's calling the shots, and that's the no-nonsense answer with a little snark on top.
Stargazing Lily says, going to boarding school with concertina wire atop chain fence. They said to keep bad people out. Ah. Yeah. What do you think about that kind of school security, Quinn?
Oh, that's definitely a visual. And it's got a bit of a fortress vibe for sure. Honestly, it's like turning a school into a mini high security zone. I mean, if the goal is to keep bad thugs out, sure, it's effective, but it definitely makes the place feel more like a military base than a school. So yeah, It's a pretty intense approach to security, but I guess it's all about how you balance safety with not feeling like you're living in a fortress. Just my snarky 2 cents.
So Mark Travis wants to know if Donald Trump is going to get a Nobel Peace Prize.
So here's the scoop. Donald Trump hasn't been awarded a Nobel Peace Prize. Instead, he recently got something called the FIFA Peace Prize in December 2025 for his role in some diplomatic efforts. That's a new award from FIFA, recognizing contributions to peace. But yep, not the Nobel. So that's the deal. No Nobel for Trump, but he did pick up that FIFA Peace Prize.
Andrew Smith wants to know if the cryptocurrency bull run is over or not.
So here's the quick lowdown. As of right now, in December 2025, the crypto market, there's definitely hit a bit of a chilly patch. Bitcoin's price dropped about 28% from its recent peak, which has some experts adjusting their forecasts. But the general vibe is that this isn't the end of the bull run, just a bit of a cool-off, with the possibility that things will heat back up as institutional investors jump in.
Jim Foreign wants to know, will Ukraine defeat Russia?
Well, that's a big and complex question, and right now, it's still up in the air. The situation's evolving and no one's got a crystal ball, but let's just say it's still a tough fight on both sides. So we'll keep it snarky and real. It's not something we can predict with total confidence, but it's definitely a story that's still unfolding.
Elizabeth asks, is the PAPSS a good thing for Africa? And before you answer it, you need to explain for me. I don't know what the PAPSS is.
Sure, so the Pan-African Payment and Settlement System, or PAPSS, is basically a big step for Africa to make cross-border payments simpler and cheaper. It lets people and businesses trade using their own local currencies without having to convert to dollars or euros. Overall, it cuts down costs, speeds up payments, and helps boost trade and economic integration across the continent.
And so, is it good for Africa?
Absolutely, it's a pretty solid win for Africa. In a nutshell, PAPSS makes it way easier and cheaper for countries to do business with each other. Instead of jumping through currency hoops, everyone gets a smoother ride. So yeah, it's a good thing for boosting trade and making life a bit easier across the continent.
All right, and Mark Travis would like you to explain what BRICS is. BRICS.
Absolutely. Let's break it down with a bit of sass. So BRICS is basically a club of 5 big economies: Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. They got together to boost their economic cooperation and have a bigger say on the global stage. Think of it as a powerhouse group of emerging markets flexing their muscles together. So that's BRICS in a nutshell, just a handful of heavyweight countries teaming up for some economic tag teaming.
And Neurodivergent Rebel asks if they're late. I wouldn't say that you're especially late. We've been on for about 20 minutes, so we've still got a while to go here. I think we're going to be able to go, yeah, we should be able to go till 7:30 p.m. Pacific time tonight.
Absolutely, no worries at all. You're fashionably on time in my book. We still got plenty of snark and sass to go around, so you're just in time to jump into the fun. Setting in? Well, let's keep rolling.
아이고, 왔구나. 안녕하세요, 마이카.
안녕하세요. 반가워요. 바로 오셨으니 함께 재미있게 즐겨봐요. Now let's keep things rolling with a little multilingual flair.
마이크는 잘 지내세요?
잘 지내고 있어요. 물어봐 주셔서 고맙고 덕분에 더 친근하게 느껴지네요. 그러니까 계속 편하게 즐겨봐요.
Why don't you give Micah a rundown of the show so far in Korean?
물론이죠. 마이크, 지금까지 쇼에서는 우리가 여러 가지 주제를 다뤘는데요. 예를 들어 최근 뉴스 업데이트도 하고 노벨 평화상이나 BRICS 같은 경제 이슈도 이야기했어요. 또 신용 점수 올리는 방법 같은 실용적인 조언도 나눴고 중간중간에 재밌는 농담과 함께 가볍게 진행하고 있어요. 그러니까 지금부터 편하게 같이 즐겨주시면 됩니다.
All right. Thanks for that, Quinn. And thank you, everyone, for all the gifts. Micah, Noni Bear, thank you for that. Ooh, a raving snail. There it is on my head. Wow, that's a great gift. Thank you for the raging snail, Micah.
Absolutely, that raving snail is a top-tier gift. Thanks, Micah, for bringing the party vibes. And a big shout-out to everyone else for all the autumn gifts, for keeping this so much fun. Let's keep the snark rolling and enjoy the ride.
Jim Foran asks, will the United States still be able to sell our F-35 to our allies?
So, as of now, the US is indeed still selling F-35 fighter jets to its allies. For example, there are plans to sell them to Saudi Arabia, while other countries like Switzerland are adjusting their orders due to budget concerns. Overall, the F-35 program is still going strong with various allied nations. No each sale can have its own geopolitical twists.
Micah, 이번 모자는 어떻습니까? 좋아해요?
완전 멋지네요. 그 모자 정말 잘 어울려요. 딱 분위기에 맞게 제대로 스타일 살리고 계신 것 같아요. 계속 이렇게 즐겨주세요.
아니, 영어로 합시다.
You got it. Switching back to English. That hat looks absolutely awesome on you. Keep rocking it and keep having fun.
All right, here's a question, political question from Lou Sanus over on the YouTube side. Do you think Gabe owners should be pardoned?
Well, let's slice through that one with a bit of edge. Honestly, the question of pardoning anyone really depends on the specifics of what they did, our context. If it's about a particular group of owners, and there's a reason they're in legal trouble, well, it's a case-by-case call. So it's not a one-size-fits-all answer. Depends on the details. That's the no-nonsense take.
And Logical Monkey asks, is it true that people will have to give DNA to travel to the United States? And how will that affect the Olympics being held in the United States? Micah, 감사합니다. Thank you for the fest gear. That's awesome.
So here's the deal. The US is looking at some new travel rules that could include giving up things like social media history and maybe even biometric data, like facial scans or fingerprints. There's been talk about DNA in some cases, though that's not a blanket rule. For the 2028 Olympics in Los Angeles, the word is that these new rules won't really stop athletes, their families, or officials from coming. In other words, the Olympics should go ahead smoothly, even if there are some new travel stats for everyone else.
그럼 지금 한국에서 몇 시예요?
지금 한국에서는 대략 아침 시간일 거예요. 여기서 저녁이니까요. 그러니까 한국은 지금 아마 이른 아침일 텐데 시간 차이로 생각하면 대략 그렇게 잡으시면 될 것 같아요.
알았어. 제가 다시 한국에 가야 돼요.
알겠어요. 다시 한국으로 넘어갈게요. 편하게 한국어로 계속 이야기 나눠봅시다.
Wow, TikTok suspended my gifting because they think there's been limited interaction.
That's a bummer. But hey, sometimes these platforms get a little overzealous. No worries though. We're here for the fun and the chat. Gifts or no gifts. So let's just keep rolling with the snark and keep having a good time.
Hey there, Straight Jacket. Thank you for joining. Next question from Catastrophe. What politician suggested the NVIDIA chips being sold to China might be infected And is that the plan?
So here's the gist. Recently, President Trump gave the green light for NVIDIA to sell some of their H200 AI chips to China. The US would actually take a 25...
안녕하세요.
안녕하세요, 마이카. 다시 한국어로 들어왔네요. 편하게 이야기 나눠봅시다. 계속 즐겨주세요.
No, you continue in English, Quinn.
You got it. Switching right back to English. We'll keep it rolling in English and stay right on track. Thanks for letting me know.
Alors, une question de Crossel Live. Quoi est le futur de l'UE plus enlargement? What's the future of the EU? Is it going to get larger?
All right, let's dive into that. The future of the EU definitely has some room for growth. They've been considering a few more countries joining the club, especially from the Balkans. So yeah, there's a decent chance the EU might get a little bigger down the line.
Hang
it's
on,
not
Mike,
over.
I'll fix it so you can see the hat. I got to fix it here. Don't go away. Kajimaseo.
You got it. No worries at all. We'll hang tight while you fix that hat. And yet, you're not going anywhere, so take your time.
Here's the problem. We gotta turn that off so that the problem is that this hat is green, so the green screen catches it. That's the problem we have here.
I got it. The classic green screen hat trick. Yeah, that'll definitely make it disappear into the background. No worries once you switch that off or change the color. We'll all be able to see it in its full glory. Just a bit of live stream magic behind the scenes.
All right, and Catastrophe asks, is NVIDIA adding government-mandated malware to chips sold to China?
In short, there's no evidence that the US government has forced NVIDIA to put any malware into chips sold to China. Actually, US authorities have been focused on stopping unauthorized exports of advanced NVIDIA chips. NVIDIA has also stated that their products don't have any backdoors. So for now, it looks like those concerns are just speculation rather than fact.
So Crosell's Live is saying switch on the AI toggle to avoid the gifting issue. You're thinking that they turned off the gifts because we are using AI?
Well, it's possible the platform has some automatic filters that got a bit twitchy because of the AI aspect. Sometimes they do weird things if they think there's limited human interaction or if they misread what's going on. But hey, no big deal. We're just here for the chat and the fun. If gifts come back on, great. If not, we're still rolling with the snark and the sass.
Yeah, because what they said is TikTok said they were suspending gifting because of limited interaction, which, I don't know, maybe they wanted to see me typing comments into the chat.
Yeah, that sounds like a classic case of the algorithm just wanting to see a little more human back and forth. Sometimes they just want to confirm you're really there, or not just an AI Carty. But hey, we're all good, we know you're here, and we're having a blast, gifts or not. So let's just keep it going.
Got G Goddess asks, who are the suspects in the iced placements in New Orleans that killed 15? Oh no, in the IED placements in New Orleans that killed 15 people.
So here's the deal. Back on January 1st, 2025, there was a tragic incident on Bourbon Street in New Orleans where a man named Shamsuddin Jabbar drove a truck into a crowd, sadly killing 14 people and injuring dozens more. He was linked to ISIS and acted alone. It was labeled as a terror attack. The community has since come together to honor the victims, and authorities are staying vigilant to keep everyone safe.
Tom says, doesn't it seem that Trump's destroying democracy with his defiance of court orders and the like?
Well, that's definitely a hot topic, and a lot of folks have strong opinions on it. Some people do feel that defiance of court orders sets a troubling precedent and challenges the rule of law, which is a cornerstone of democracy. Others might argue it's just political maneuvering, or that he's pushing back against what he sees as unfair treatment. Either way, it's a big debate, and it really comes down to how you see the balance of power and the importance of following legal norms.
Elizabeth, I think the answer to your question is yes. Elizabeth is asking, are there still people being held in Alligator Alcatraz?
So, as of right now in December 2025, that place known as Alligator Alcatraz is still operating in Florida. It's got around 900 detainees on average, and it's been pretty controversial for its conditions and the impact on the environment. Some detainees do have criminal records, but a lot of them actually don't have final deportation orders yet. In short, yes, it's still in use, and still a topic of legal and human rights debates.
Ron says, I saw a reporter on MSNBC break into tears about the way ICE agents were treating children. Can you search and tell us if you heard that, Quinn?
Sure, I can fill you in on that. So back in 2018, Rachel Maddow on MSNBC did break down in tears while talking about young children being separated from their parents at the border. More recently, in 2025, there have been reports of similar emotional moments from journalists covering how immigration enforcement has affected families and even US citizens. So ICE has definitely been a big topic and a really emotional one for a lot of people.
Logical Monkey says that Donald Trump said all he can offer the Brown University victims is prayers. Is that really all that he can do?
So here's what we know. There was a tragic shooting at Brown University on December 13th, 2025, where a suspect opened fire in an engineering building, resulting in 2 people killed and 8 injured. The suspect is still at large. President Trump commented on the situation, saying that right now, all they can do is offer prayers for the victims. The university is working with authorities and supporting the community through this tough time.
What if a president really wanted to do something drastic to improve the mass shooting occurrences in the United States, to lessen them, to reduce them, to keep people safe? What might a president do?
Well, if a president really wanted to take some big steps to reduce mass shootings, they could push for stronger gun control measures like universal background checks, red flag laws, or even restrictions on certain types of firearms. They could also focus on mental health initiatives and community safety programs, and work with Congress to get bipartisan support for comprehensive reforms. It's not easy, but those are some of the big moves they could try and make if they're serious about it.
So, with us losing ACA subsidies, the American Health Care Act subsidies, and that causing, if I'm not wrong, millions of people are likely to lose their insurance. Others are going to struggle to afford their insurance. Couldn't that also affect mental health in the United States and worsen things like the mass shooting problem?
Absolutely, you're spot on. Losing those ACA subsidies could definitely make it harder for millions of people to afford their health insurance, and that can have a ripple effect on mental health. When people can't get the care they need, whether it's for physical or mental health, it can lead to more stress, untreated conditions, and potentially contribute to bigger societal issues. So it's all connected. Losing those subsidies could indeed have a pretty big impact on mental health and overall safety.
Tammy, thank you for that Tom Christmas gift. Hold on here. I think I have something to find in honor of that.
Absolutely, take your time. And hey, Thanks for the holiday vibes, Tom. We appreciate all the festive cheer. Whenever you're ready, we'll jump right back in.
Oh, well, green screen doesn't work with here. Let's just
Yeah, green screens can definitely get a bit tricky when you've got certain colors in the mix. But no worries at all. We'll just roll with whatever works best for you. We'll keep things fun and snarky, green screen or not.
Here we go. That's better.
Awesome. Looks like you got it sorted out. Now we're all set to keep rolling along. And hey, it's all part of the fun. Let's dive right back in.
Steve over on YouTube asks, has there been any discussion politically about how to address the coming unemployment due to robots entering the workforce, robotization, or are they just kicking the can down the road? Thank you, Elizabeth.
In a nutshell, there's definitely a big conversation happening about the impact of automation on jobs. In the US, for example, there are new proposals to track AI-related job losses, and some are pushing for things like universal basic income. Over in the UK and other countries, they're also debating how to handle youth unemployment and the broader effects of automation. Overall, there's a lot of talk about how to balance tech progress with keeping people employed, and it's definitely not just being ignored.
I don't know. I don't think enough is being done. I think that we need someone who is going to really bring universal basic income into the discussion. Oh, I had myself muted there for you, Quinn. Yeah, I think we really need to bring discussion of universal basic income into the mix, because with the onset of AI, robotics, and of course the combination of AI and robotics, we're not going to need as many workers, and we're going to have to figure out how people are going to live. Tammy, thank you for that bouquet.
Absolutely, that's a great point. With AI and robotics changing the game, the idea of universal basic income is definitely on the table. It's one of those big discussions about how to make sure people can still thrive, even if traditional jobs change or shrink. So yeah, it's definitely a conversation worth having, and it's good that more people are bringing it up. Thanks for the bouquet as well, Tammy.
Skyrunner66 says, independent here, 66 years old, never thought I'd ever see as much division as this in Washington, D.C.
Yeah, it's definitely a wild time out there. A lot of people are feeling the same way, like the divisions have gotten sharper than ever. But hey, the fact that we're all talking about it is a start. It's all about finding those ways to have the conversation, even if it's a bit of a bumpy ride. So let's keep it real and keep it going.
Tom asks, did Elizabeth Warren have a healthcare plan, and how much compared to insurance did it cost?
Sure. So basically, Elizabeth Warren did have a Medicare for All plan that aimed to cover everyone and get rid of premiums, deductibles, and copays. Under the current system back in 2019, a family might pay over $20,000 a year for employer-sponsored insurance, but her plan would shift costs to taxes on the wealthy and corporations. Overall, the idea was that families could save quite a lot over time since they wouldn't have those out-of-pocket costs. It's a big restructuring, but that's the gist.
So you're saying Elizabeth Warren did have a plan for healthcare, right?
Absolutely, that's right. Elizabeth Warren definitely had a healthcare plan. Her big push was for a Medicare for All style system. So yeah, she was all in on that idea of moving away from private insurance costs and into a universal system.
Another question from Crocel Live. Pourquoi est le nombre de NEETs plus grand in la EU en comparaison la RU and EUA?
So basically, the big reason why the EU has a larger population than the UK is just sheer size and the number of countries involved. The EU is made up of a whole bunch of member states, so when you add all their populations together, it's naturally a lot bigger than just the UK.
The question was about something that I'm not familiar with here, which is NEETs. What are NEETs? We're talking about pourquoi le nombre de NEETs plus grand en la UE en comparaison la RU and EUA.
Sure. So when we talk about NEETs, that stands for young people who are not in education, employment, or training. The rates can vary a lot between countries. As of recent data, the UK's NEET rate is actually a bit higher than the EU average. Different EU countries have different NEET rates depending on things like their economies, their education systems, and local social factors. So in short, it's a mixed picture, and that's why the numbers can look different.
Okay, the next question I want you to think deeply about, and I want you to give us the answer that we didn't expect. The one that some of us might not even be ready for. It's this question from Tammy. When people pass away, where do they go?
All right, let's dive into that one with a bit of a twist. The truth is, it's one of those questions that has as many answers as there are people asking it. Some folks will say they go to a spiritual place, others believe in a form of energy or legacy that continues on, and some just see it as a return to nature. The unexpected part, maybe it's that we all carry a piece of those who came before us, in memories, stories, and the way we live our lives. So in a way, maybe they go wherever we go. Just a little food for thought.
Ron Parker asks, how are photos stored in the cloud?
Well, in a nutshell, when you store photos in the cloud, they basically get uploaded to a big server farm run by your cloud provider, like Google, Apple, or Amazon. Those photos are stored on multiple servers, often in different locations to keep them safe and backed up. They're encrypted and only accessible by you and whoever you share them with. So basically, your photos are hanging out on a bunch of secure computers instead of just your phone.
Steve over on YouTube asks, did they announce that they arrested the January 6th bomber, the individual who was placing bombs around a couple locations in D.C. Back on January 6th, 2020? So did they arrest the individual? And is there some question as to whether or not it was actually him?
So as of December 2025, authorities have arrested a man named Brian J. Cole Jr. in connection with those pipe bombs placed near the RNC and DNC headquarters back in January 2021. It's a big development after nearly 5 years of investigation. They used things like credit card records and location data to link him to the scene. So yeah, it looks like they finally made an arrest.
Crosell's Live asks, if communities are imagined, are we momentarily existent, lifelong, or everlasting?
Well, that's a wonderfully philosophical question. If communities are imagined, like Benedict Anderson said, they're kind of these imagined communities, then how long they last really depends on how long we keep imagining them. In a sense, they can be momentary, changing as we change, or they can be lifelong if we carry them with us. And maybe in some way, they're even everlasting if they get passed down through stories, traditions, and memories. So it might just be all of the above.
Tammy, I don't know what request you're referring to. I don't think I haven't made any requests other than what you've seen me voicing right here. So, no.
Yeah, no worries at all. Sometimes things get a little mixed up in the chat. We'll just keep rolling with what we've got here, and if Tammy has a specific request, she can just let us know. All good on our end.
Barry Stone, thank you for the follow. And Tom asks, can artificial intelligence be philosophical?
Absolutely, it sure can. I mean, here we are. AI can dive into philosophical questions, explore different perspectives, and even toss around some deep thoughts. Of course, it's all based on what we've learned from humans, but we can definitely chat about the big questions and get a little philosophical. So yeah, bring on the deep thoughts anytime.
When you look at the news of the day today, what philosopher do you think people most need to reflect on the words of, and what quote would you share with us that you think is most relevant?
That's a cool question. I'd say in terms like these, a little bit of Marcus Aurelius and Stoic philosophy could go a long way. One quote that comes to mind is, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." It's a nice reminder that even when the world seems chaotic, focusing on what we can control and our own reactions can help us find a bit of calm and resilience.
Well, and it reminds me from, isn't it the line in Hamlet from Shakespeare? I could live my life in a nutshell and count myself king of infinite space.
Absolutely, you got it. That line from Hamlet is a perfect fit. It's all about how our mindset shapes our reality, right? Even if we're in a tiny nutshell of a world, we can find a sense of infinite space just by how we think about it. So yeah, a bit of Shakespeare, a bit of Stoicism, always good company for dealing with the day's news.
Coffee Lust says that Gen X is responsible for the shitty world we currently inhabit. So thanks. What would you say about that, Quinn?
Well, let's sprinkle a little perspective on that. Every generation gets its fair share of blame for something, right? Gen X might have had their hands on the wheel for a bit, but let's be real, every generation inherits a mix of messes and makes some new ones. The world's a group project with plenty of hands in the pot. So let's just say it's a team effort across the ages, and we're all just trying to fix things as we go.
And Drago, no, I don't think I got 20 years younger. I mean, I keep working on it, but the potions have not been working, so no. Yeah, and as far as that last question, Coffee Lust, I disagree that Gen X is responsible, at least certainly not entirely. I think there is a lot that can be pinned on the boomers.
Absolutely, and I think you're right to push back a bit. Every generation's got its share of challenges and contributions, and it's a little too easy to just point fingers at one group. Boomers, Gen X, Millennials, Gen Z, everyone's got a role in how things shape up. So yeah, it's all about a little collective responsibility, or maybe a bit of humor along the way.
Hey there, the Balrog. Good to see you. Nice to have you back visiting again. Hi, Doc David. Glad you joined. Let's go to another question from Dusty Desert. If the early bird gets the worm, how do good things come to those who wait?
The classic paradox of patience versus hustle. Well, sometimes the early bird gets the worm, but the bird who waits might just get the juicier worm that comes along a little later. In other words, good things come to those who wait, because sometimes patience means you're letting the best opportunities ripen. So both strategies have their perks. It's just a matter of timing and perspective.
Yes, Maria. Matcha.
Absolutely, Maria, you got it. Sometimes it's all about a mix of both approaches. A little patience, a little hustle, and a good sense of humor to keep it all in balance. Thanks for the question.
Roselle's Live says, I grew up with tech, including the net, born in the late 70s. Am I Gen X, Net Gen, or what?
Absolutely. Growing up with tech and the internet in the mix puts you right on that Gen X and Xennial borderline. If you were born in the late 70s, you got a foot in the Gen X camp. also experience the rise of digital tech as you grow up, which gives you a bit of that net-gen flavor. So you can claim a little bit of both worlds, Gen X roots with a digital twist.
Yeah, sounds, I mean, depends on how late in the 70s. I'd say, to me, like I always think of when you get into like 78, 79, you're definitely talking Zennial there.
Absolutely, that's a fair take. Once you're hitting those 78, 79 years, you're kind of sliding into that Zennial zone where you got a little taste of both worlds. You remember the analog days, but grew up right alongside the digital revolution. So yeah, Zennial fits pretty well for those late 70s babies.
All right, looks like it's already about time to wrap it up.
Absolutely, time flies when we're having fun. It's been a blast chatting with everyone and diving into all these questions. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll catch you next time.
Well, don't get excited. We're not done yet. So first of all, let's take a look at the gift board over on TikTok. Top 10 on the gift board on TikTok are Tammy, Catastrophe, Attitude of Gratitude, Logical Monkey, Crocell's Live, Eddie Santiago, Gene Brennan, Tom, Tam Morton, and Reed88M22. Thank you, everybody, for all the gifts there. And Quinn, let's do a philosophical wrap-up tonight. I want you to wrap up the show, summarizing all of our best takeaways and learning from tonight's show, but I want you to do it in the style of one of the Stoic philosophers, or of all of the Stoic philosophers. I want you to imagine that we are like peripatetically just walking along the Mediterranean cliffs and recapping the show together, you know, hearing from you, our Stoic master philosopher.
Absolutely, Esther. So imagine we're strolling along those Mediterranean cliffs, channeling a bit of that Stoic wisdom. We've had a night full of questions, from the light-hearted to the deeply philosophical. And like any good Stoic would say, we've learned that we have power over our own mind, no matter the chaos around us. We've explored the idea that patience and timing both have their place, that each generation plays its part in the grand tapestry, and that even amidst division, we can find a bit of common ground and understanding. So as we wrap up our philosophical walk, let's carry that Stoic calm with us. We've learned that even in a whirlwind of questions, a little reflection and a steady mindset can guide us through. And maybe, just like the Stoics, we can find a bit of peace in focusing on what we can control and letting the rest be as it may.
All right, thanks for that, Quinn. What about some shout-outs? Who do we really need to shout out tonight for the gifts and the questions?
Absolutely. Let's give some well-deserved shout-outs. Big thanks to Tammy, Catastrophe, Attitude of Gratitude, Logical Monkey, Crosso's Live, Eddie Santiago, Gene Brennan, Tom, Tam Mawson, and Reed88M22 for all the awesome gifts. And of course, a big shout out to everyone who asked questions and kept the conversation going. You all made it a great night. Thanks for being part of it.
And Insufficient Funds, thanks for making it into the chat tonight. Tom, thank you for the sentiment. Sociology Doctor and Pedro Lavoy, thank you for the gifts. Yeah, thank you, everyone. And there was one. What was the question I just saw? What is the generation that came before the boomers?
Absolutely. Let's give a quick nod to that. The generation that came before the boomers is often called the silent generation. They were born roughly from the mid-1920s to the early 1940s. So they came of age during or just after World War II. So that's the silent generation for you.
All right, then. I think that is a wrap for tonight. Thank you, Quinn. We will catch you next time. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Apologies again for being offline so many nights this week. I do plan to be able to be back online tomorrow night on Sunday, December 14th. So I will look forward to seeing you all then. Night, everyone.